So I'm getting a lot of questions lately. How do you break your way into the luxury market? I want to preface this by saying I'm not an expert by any means. I've only been doing real estate for 2 years. I've had a handful of luxury listings, but I can at least let you know what I've done to be able to accomplish this goal in 2 years. So behind me, I actually have a luxury property I'm holding open today. First and foremost, the biggest thing that I can say is be where the clients are going to be. Obviously, if you want to get into luxury listings, the best thing you can possibly do is to get a luxury listing of your own. How do you do that? You find the clients that are going to be attracted to that market. So I would suggest holding open houses. Again, this is one that I'm at right now. It's over in Phoenix. It's 1.15 million. So I know that each state's going to have a different opinion of what a luxury home is. I think out here in Arizona, you can safely consider anything above $750,000 luxury, unless you're out there just big timing it in Fountain Hills, Paradise Valley. Amazing views from up here. I mean, even if you don't get a client, how could you be mad at this being your office? It's extremely extreme. Huge little hill to climb to get up here. But besides the point, so be where your clients are going to be. That's business 101. Really what I found about real estate is as long as you know how to conduct business or you're business savvy, you'll do pretty well in real estate. Because realistically, you are your own business in real estate. You market yourself. You, essentially are your own boss of yourself. If you get a team together, then you're really starting to form more or less a company at that point within the brokerage. So I have done the same. I've actually gotten 4 people on my team now, and I think that it's really important to be able to create systems and to fire yourself from anything that's not a direct money-making activity. So what do I mean by that? That means, for example, I have a listing coming up tomorrow. The photographer is going to go out there and take the pictures. Me taking pictures is not necessarily a money-making activity. Yes, it plays into me making money as far as getting the listing promoted and sold, but me taking pictures myself is not a money-making activity if I can be out holding an open house, meeting new clients, and really directly getting a benefit from doing something, as far as a money-making activity. Negotiating an offer is another thing that I would never fire myself from. That is my job. But as far as putting the listing into MLS, I use Lister Assister. They do that for me as well, so it takes less of my time. I now have a lead-generating website where I send a lot of traffic through social media marketing and marketing in general, and I have a lead incubator. Instead of me sitting there prospecting these leads, calling, emailing, seeing if they're actually interested in moving or whether they're just looking at homes. That's not a money-making activity. I have somebody sifting through and filtering these leads to see who's serious. Once they're serious, they get pre-qualified. Then I spend the time with the leads because that's a money-making activity. At that point, you'll be able to take the lead, show houses, negotiate the contract, and get them closed. Again, I know this is supposed to be more geared on luxury homes, so another thing that you can do to get a luxury home, believe it or not, is expired calls. The first listing I ever got was $899,000. It was out here in Phoenix, real close to where this one's at actually, sitting on the side of a mountain, and it was my first day cold calling. I ended up calling 10 people, and out of the 10 people, I had one interested seller who actually was gracious enough to give me the opportunity to list her house. It was listed with a previous agent for 2 years who was not able to get it done. And it was really amazing that I had that opportunity, and basically I just went with what I had. So at that point I had nothing really. You're probably wondering, how did I get a listing when I had no previous listings, I had no previous sales under my belt? And my answer would be, number one, working with what I had. I had an exceptional mentor. His name was Nate Martinez, owner of Remax Professionals. And I basically said, hey, I have an excellent mentor. He's well-versed in the luxury field. He's got yada yada years of experience, and between my team and my support system, which I was considering my parents as well, I have X years of real estate experience. They're not going to let me down. They're going to basically help if I need help, and we'll be able to get this done. So fortunately, about a year after I got the listing, I did get the house closed successfully, which was more than another agent was able to do in 2 years. So don't lie, obviously, but work with what you have. If you don't have any experience but you have a great support system, tell them that. If you're on a part of a larger brokerage, where say you have 100, 200 agents out of your brokerage, mention that, let them know, hey, we work as a team. This is not going to be technically my listing, although I'm going to be the listing agent. This is going to be the team's listing as far as the brokerage is concerned. We have 200 agents, it's extremely, if you specialize in the area, you have a lot of agents that work the area, let them know that, we work this area heavily. We come across buyers, if you're good at marketing, let them know, hey, I'm, excellent at marketing. I'm not just going to let your house sit on the MLS and put it up there and wait to find a buyer. I'm actually going to be proactive in finding buyers for this property. Any single thing that you can think of. But above and beyond what I had, because again, I had nothing, but I pitched what I did have, I would say the most important thing is to be personable. Don't read a script. I know that some people out there swear by scripts. Oh, scripts work, it worked for me, I got a listing or two. I can almost guarantee you that if you have a bank in your memory of things to say, even if they're rebuttals, although I try not to ever rebut anybody on the phone, you're going to do a lot better. You got to go with the flow instead of flipping through pages looking for what response you're going to say next. Me, I don't use a script. What I do is I study people who are real good at expired calls. I listen to them, listen to their technique, and I pick up on certain things they say, and I make it my own. So that way during the conversation, I have go-tos instead of a script. So if someone, for example, says, oh, I have already gotten 100 calls from agents today, and I have an agent that said they would do it for 5%. Would you do it for 5%? My go-to would be, okay, there's a good thing that the agent's willing to go 5% for you. It's nice that they're willing to discount their rates, but what do you think they're gonna do when you get an offer in hand? Do you think that they're also going to entice you at that point to discount your house? If you get a discounted agent, sometimes you get discounted service. That's a go-to. Another one could very well be, that's exceptional. That agent's willing to offer you 5%. I never say anything negative about the agent. That's such a turnoff. I can't even tell you, and I feel that it's also against the morals and ethics that we subscribe to as realtors. So never put your another agent down, regardless of if they're willing to go 4%, which I also coincidentally know of a listing where an agent took a 4% listing. But you can also say, okay, so let me ask you this. As someone that works for a living, if you could do this one job over here and make $1,000, or you could do job B over here and make $2,000, which job would you choose first, and which job would you focus on more? Everybody's gonna say job B, because if you can make more money selling the same thing, that's where your focus is gonna go. Again, another go-to, but it's not scripted. You just gotta make sure that you talk intelligently and it's something that is meaningful. It's not something that, just because it's the next line on the page, you're gonna read it. This whole thing right now is completely unscripted. Whether you can tell or not, I'm not sitting here reading from anything. I'm just out here looking at the view, really just saying what comes to mind. And I know it can get a little off topic. Again, I know luxury listings was the topic, but I think this all kind of plays in to being able to get a luxury listing, because again, if I could get my first listing from an expired call, I should be out there doing it. And to say for myself, I've honestly not been doing expired calls lately. I've not been putting in as much effort as I probably should because it worked. And doing what works is a huge component of real estate as well. Some people are better at door knocking. Some people are better at expired calls. Some people are better at open houses. Some people hate open houses and will never do them. For those people that don't want to do them, ask them to hold their house open. You can't get anywhere better in front of a buyer than face-to-face. I mean, a phone call is great, especially if they call into you and you're not calling out to them. An internet lead is okay, but there's nothing like getting face-to-face with a buyer. It's just, there's nothing like it. You are able to establish a connection, build a rapport, and really just form a relationship that's hopefully going to make them use you as their realtor, because I can tell you what, in Arizona, there is not a shortage of realtors whatsoever. Everybody knows a realtor. Everyone has a friend or a family member that's a realtor. So how are you going to get your business? It's by getting in front of people. Instead of sitting at the office, set up at an office like this. Make this your office location where you can get live walk-in buyers and hopefully convert them. And again, work the price range that you want to work. If you don't have any listings, like I don't right now, I just sold my $900,000 listing over in Peoria, then ask an agent that's in the price range that you want to work, hey, would you mind if I held your house open? It's very easy. I mean, I get a lot more yeses than nos, unbelievably. And it's just really not too hard. You just have to put in the work. And that's really the last thing of getting a luxury listing and actually working them. Put in the work. don't get a listing and sit on it. Don't get a listing if you're not comfortable listing it. And if you're not comfortable listing it and you have an opportunity to get a listing, get a co-listing agent. Get someone with a little bit more experience than you. Give them some of your commission, even if you list at a 50-50. You get the listing that maybe you wouldn't be able to sell yourself, and then you get someone who can actually help you sell it. You're gonna make 50% of nothing instead of 50% of something instead of 100% of nothing. And that's an area that I'm learning really quick in this field. I've gone on multiple multi-million-dollar houses and I've not gotten the listing. I think a lot of that is potentially my age. Some of it was I was a lot more green than I am now in real estate, so I know more or less what to say in a listing appointment. I can read the people a little better. And through not getting these listings, I've actually reached back out to the sellers and said, hey, I appreciate the opportunity to at least, sat with you and talked about potentially getting the listing. What is it that I could do next time to make my presentation better, or why did you choose the agent that you chose to go with? And by getting those answers, I've kind of put all that into the memory banks. So now I know what is the hot spot, what do I need to touch on with each person, and what are the real strong points that are going to help me secure a listing in the future. Some of those are actually still on the market today, 2 years later, and I'm still hoping for an opportunity. Even just the other day when I sold this property over in Peoria, coincidentally, I cold called an expired listing. It was north of Black Canyon Highway, 7,700 square foot house, beautiful panoramic views, and it was listed at $1.25 million. So I called the gentleman. Don went up there, took a look at his house, met him at the property, walked it with him, and he actually had another agent, but because it was expired at the time when I called him, he was like, hey, this agent has a buyer. They're looking to try to close this deal. I'm going to give them an opportunity. If it doesn't work out, I'll end up giving you a call. Fortunately for the other agent, the buyer did end up coming through about 3 or 4 months later. They did a carry back on the house, which isn't the best situation that he could have sold it in, but he sold it nonetheless. So I get a call on my phone probably a week and a half ago, and it was a gentleman that lived in the neighborhood of the $900,000 listing I got under contract in 3 days. There's been another house that actually just expired that was sitting on the market for more than, I want to say 6 months. So this gentleman calls and says, hey, I noticed that you sold this property really quickly. I'm looking at selling my property. I'd like an opportunity to sit down with you. Lo and behold, it's the same guy, Don, that I expired called and met with at his $1.25 million property. So familiar face. I actually showed someone pre-MLS this property. It's going to be coming to the market fairly soon. But it just goes to show you never know who, what, and when is going to help you in this business. But I can tell you that if you're working versus not, you're going to have more of those opportunities to circle back and work with people that you didn't work with before. And also never burn your bridges. If just because he chose to go with this other agent and I felt that I could have done a better job, I didn't say that. I didn't put the other agent down. I didn't leave a negative impression in his head of what I was, what I could do for him. Exactly the opposite, actually. I sold a house coincidentally in a neighborhood that he bought in after getting that house closed, and showed him more or less through what I did that I am the agent for the job, and now I'm going to have an opportunity to list this $1.6 million house in Peoria. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's crazy business. And again, if you're business savvy at all, if you have any concept of business and running your own business, real estate is something that may do well for you. I'm not guaranteeing it. It's definitely a hard business. I know they say the average realtor actually is unemployed within 2 years and chooses a different avenue to make money. But for those of us that are actually there to work, put in the work, and do what it takes. I mean, it's an amazing business, and the sky's the limit. There's no floor as far as pay, but there's no ceiling. And I appreciate the opportunity to have a job where I actually make what I earn, because I was never satisfied working at a job where I was making $7 to $10 an hour, and if I wanted to work twice as hard one day, I still made the same paycheck. It just did not sit well with me. And I'm really fortunate that I found my way to real estate so I don't have to deal with that anymore. Hope this was helpful. If anyone has any questions, feel free to email me. My email is Kyle, Kyle, @ihelpmove.com. I'm more than happy to take time, share knowledge. I also do marketing for agents. So if you are an agent out there and you have a website but you're not getting any leads to your website, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to speak with you about what I can do to help generate some leads. I've already generated, I want to say 500-600 leads this year, and that's only been with campaigns that have been running part-time. I didn't really have the support system to do that, but now I have a really good lead incubator in place to where the leads are actually getting worked and converted. So I'm going to be ramping that up a bit more. But even though I've only been doing it part-time, I'd say about 75% of my income this year has come from online leads. The other percentage is split between open houses and referrals, and some print advertising, but it doesn't do as well. Again, feel free to reach out to me by email, kyle@ihelpmove.com. You can also give me a call, 602-503-8383.